Okay, welcome everybody. This is Jackie Cheslow. I'm the Vice President of Professional Development for ARMA, New Jersey, and I want to welcome everybody to today's event. Our chapter makes an effort to provide content that's not only educational, but meets the needs of our members, and I believe today's topic is timely for many of us. With us today is Larry Samilow, co-founder and managing director of Bedminster, New Jersey-based Verve Group Consulting, which specializes in providing data privacy, compliance, and regulatory consulting services. For over 25 years, Larry has been known for building relationships with board members, company executives, attorneys, and legal consultants. His clients rely on Larry for data privacy, compliance, and regulatory functions to align data privacy, compliance, and regulatory functions with the company's commercial goals, as well as make those functions due diligence friendly for investment or acquisition. Larry is very active in New Jersey and has created unique professional networking groups. He's the founder of the New Jersey Biz General Counsel Awards. In addition, he's been a judge for New Jersey Biz Icons, New Jersey CFO, and 40 Under 40 Awards. Larry's a past board member of the Prevent Child Abuse of New Jersey. In addition, he's a longtime supporter and former honorary chairman of the Fresh Air Fund. Alongside Larry, we have Michael Potters. Michael is co-founder of the multi-award-winning firm Glenmont Group, which was organized in 2001 as a boutique affiliate office of Management Recruiters International. Michael leveraged his 20-plus years of experience in business development and management and specializes in information governance, e-discovery, enterprise contact management, and legal technology. Noticing an absence of a firm specialized in the recruitment and placement of highly qualified legal technology talent, and having personally recruited, hired, and trained hundreds of technology leaders, Michael set off to create a best-in-brand boutique firm. In 5 short years, Michael and his partner and wife, Kate, led the successful growth of the Glenmont Group to become the largest executive search firm dedicated to the professional services, legal technology, and legal IT. And so we learned during our conversations prepping for this that the firm has successfully placed 1,500 individuals. So I'm sure you agree with me, Michael's well placed to give us some advice today. His firm, Glenmont Group, has appeared multiple times on both the Best of the National Law Journal and the Best of the New York Law Journal. Michael prides himself on the ability to find the right fit both for his clients and his candidates. Larry and Michael are both familiar speakers to many of us in and around New Jersey, and I've known both of these gentlemen for many years. In fact, they're my personal go-to team and have helped me over the years to successfully brand and market myself in 2 different industries. So before we get started, we're going to be covering a lot of ground this afternoon, and we'll try to preserve some time at the end for questions. But don't wait. Use the chat window. We'll try and address questions as we go along and keep this an interactive discussion. Both our speakers are very happy to have conversations throughout the session. I'll ask you to mute your audio so we don't have a lot of background noise. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Michael to kick us off.
Thank you very much, Jackie, and hello to everybody out there. Yes, Jackie and I have been friends for a long time, and as much as I may have helped her, she has helped me just as much, and ARMA has helped me. And a large part of what we're going to be talking about here is networking. You hear this over and over again. If you want to advance your career, you have to advance your network, and nothing can be truer than that. And we're going to discuss on how best to do this. So the subject that we're going to be talking about is career branding, and they've asked both Larry and I to talk about what career branding is, and I sort of decided the best way to talk about career branding is give you folks an understanding of why it's important, what it is and why it's important. So career branding is really no different than product branding or corporate branding. You know, why do we shop at Whole Foods? Why do we eat at Shake Shack? They don't advertise. You don't see advertisements for them ever, but we know their brand and we're comfortable going in there. We're so comfortable we're willing to go to Whole Foods and overpay for foods on it, but we just trust the brand so much on that. And they figured that out, and they brand by a myriad of ways, mostly by doing it through social and through the internet and the modern sources. The career branding is the exact same thing. you want to get noticed. So I'm going to point out something that I think is going to be eye-opening for people, but you probably knew anyway. The average job posting gets 250 applicants, some significantly more. Google posts something, they're going to get a lot more, and some a little bit less, but on average, 250. The average response rate to it is 2%. So 5 people will get a response on that. That means 250, 246 people, 245 people are not hearing back. And that's the frustration that I'm sure many of you have experienced. I know I've experienced it. I've probably been guilty of it and not responding to people, where you submit into what you believe is the black hole of death and you don't hear anything back. It's not because you're not good, and it's not because your resume is not good. It's because it's just not getting noticed. Some people don't even understand that the first thing that happens when you submit a resume to a portal is the software is looking for keywords and is popping you out of the thing before it even goes to the internal recruiter and before it makes it to the hiring authority. So the reason you want to get noticed on this, the reason you want to get noticed out there is so you can be discovered, because the resume died 10 years ago, to be perfectly honest. The resume is utilized now to be a placeholder when you're interviewing, or maybe when the day you are interviewing, you're doing it. But the real way that people are noticing things is by going on LinkedIn or other software tools, looking on associations, looking, we, as a recruiter ourselves, doing it for 20 years, we have 10 different methods that we use to try to discover somebody, but the very first tool we do is LinkedIn. So that's why I sort of feel that the branding is important. There's 2 types of branding. There's internal branding and there's external branding. External branding, we'll talk a lot about now, and Larry's going to cover it. External branding is how you're viewed in the marketplace. So how the industry knows you, how the world knows you, how the world can see you out there. Internal branding, believe it or not, is equally as important. It's how your company recognizes you and sees you. And it's internal branding. And by the way, that still is LinkedIn, but then it becomes tools like, are you posting articles? Are you writing comments on articles? Are you doing things like that so you can get noticed, so the people within your organization know who you are? Because I would trust, I don't know, there's 50 people out there. I would trust that 45 of you, most of the people in your company, they know your name, but they don't really know who you are and what you do. But the more they know, that's where you get utilized more. So that's a little bit of the difference between internal, and I'll let Larry, in fact, I hand it off to you now, Larry. Maybe you can talk about external branding and a few other things.
Absolutely. Thanks, Michael. And it bears noting, to kind of repeat what Michael said, for most of us, myself included, it used to be the resume was the key to getting noticed and the key for the job. And it's an old habit. It's hard to break, I think. But really attracting new opportunities now is really about your external personal brand. The truth is, remember, recruiters, Michael's one of them, hiring managers, friends used to say, send me your resume, send me your resume. The reality is right now, you don't have to necessarily send your resume to get noticed for a new opportunity. And Michael and I will talk a little bit about that, but your brand actually can work for you without you having to look for the job. Now, of course, it's important to always look for a job at network, but I want to make this point, and I want to stress it. The resume was your first step years ago. Now your brand is working for you, so it's very important to talk about external branding. I don't know, Michael, you mentioned this stat, but right now, 70% of new jobs are not necessarily publicized up front. So they rely on this branding of people's friends, networking professionals. They rely on the brand to kind of get noticed. The other thing about external branding, I'm going to talk about some of the components, but I want you to think about this. You have to constantly evolve your external brand. It's not that you just put, again, to the resume, it's not that you just put a resume together. The brand is constantly evolving because it's your credibility. It's your credibility and your marketability. Like Michael said, you're advertising for, the person who you are. And I think Michael would agree, you can literally influence a hiring manager, because that person will first see your external brand before they even speak to you. So you can actually get them to think about you in a hiring capacity even before they meet you or speak with you. In fact, I picked up a stat this morning. In typical buying of professional services, it's been documented that 2/3 of a buyer's decision is made before they ever speak to the professional services vendor. Why? The trust of the brand. They see the brand, they know the brand, and they're getting a feel for if they're going to hire that person or not. So you're going to land more job interviews. You're going to get a better response, to Michael's point, if you have a better brand. What are some of the components? And I hope you guys don't mind. These are some takeaways. If you have company training, company certificates, achievements, and awards, they should be part of your personal brand. If you joined ARMA, of course, and any other professional organization, you should list those in your brand, but not just be part of it. You want to take on responsibility for committees. Also, speaking engagements. I mean, that's huge. Speaking engagements and either authoring an article or co-authoring an article. It's hard the first time. It may be scary the first time, but these are things you can do to build up your personal brand. Charity work, volunteer work. That's very, very important. It lets the hiring company know what type of person you are, right? They're hiring an employee, yes, but they're also hiring a person, more importantly. And you really should take a look at that. One of the last things I'll mention, and it's something I do, and it's been pointed out to me that it's been helpful. On my email signature, if you ever get an email from me, I have personally branded myself in the body of the email signature.
Yeah.
Think about how many times we all trade emails. It says where am I a professional member, and if I'm part of a committee. So I just wanted to give you some takeaways, some specifics, and that's really part of your external brand. And Michael can really talk about now. So for all these components, where does that brand live? Where does the text of that brand live? How do you develop the brand? And to a large extent, it's using LinkedIn as a vehicle.
I might add, Larry, I think it probably will make sense. Yes, I'm a recruiter and own a recruiting firm, but all hiring authorities look at this the exact same way, whether it's an internal recruiter, working for Pfizer, or whether it's the hiring authority themselves who has a certain need and we're looking for certain things. And I'm really glad that you pointed out the volunteerism things, because that's really important. I can't tell you how many times people tell me when they're hiring somebody, we're looking for somebody that fits into our organization. We're looking for a certain type. Yes, they want the track record of success. Yes, they want the skill sets that they're looking for. But if 10 people, well, let's use the number 5, because that's pretty much what it is. If 5 people come in and 4 they're all, by the way, the people who are going to be submitted are all going to be pretty darn good. On a scale of 1 to 10, they're all going to be 8s, right? So it's what's going to separate you. And it's that separation thing. It's the personal thing that you are a volunteer, that you have done training, that you are a mentor, that you are involved in the different associations, that you have written. That's the thing that boosts you up from the 8 to a 9. Conversely, if you haven't done those things, it might even lower you a little bit on those things. So it's very, very important to do that. So I totally concur with that.
Michael, before we go on, we have a question from Anne Marie.
So my question is, I've almost always been advised not to include personal things like that, in case, say I volunteer at my church, or I volunteer at XYZ, and people are like, ugh, religious, it's not my religion, or it's not my cause, or whatever. How do you balance that, sharing that kind of personal information?
That's a ridiculously good question. You do have to be cautious. You can't touch on politics. You can't go anywhere. That is a goal. That is a minefield that will kill you, because literally 50% of the people will hate you after that. But you can do other things on there. I think you have to get your personality in there. I look for that, and people are looking for that personality. If anybody goes to my LinkedIn, it's almost comical, the stuff that I put in my LinkedIn, but I want people to see the personality, and it's really helped me take off. So you could put down the volunteerism things, put down the things that seem relatively agnostic. I think it's important to have in there, by agnostic, I don't mean religious, but I mean relatively agnostic that might not offend anybody, but it sort of has to be in there. I've seen people put in not just the organizations that they're involved in. I've seen people put down the books that they've read. I don't mind seeing that. I like that. It just shows me a little bit more about them. It shows me where they're at. So I think the person who said don't put anything in there is wrong, but they are right, and you are right to be concerned about what you're putting in there. Try to avoid the minefields, if that helps you at all.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
And Anne Marie, this is Larry. If I can just join in, I agree wholeheartedly with Michael about not leaning into politics, not just this year, but maybe any
year.
But religion, whether someone is the exact same religion as you, I personally would say that if it's important to you,
yes,
that means it's important to the person who's hiring you. And if they, by the way, I say this respectfully, if someone's not going to hire me because I'm a member of a certain religious community, I don't think I want to be hired by that.
You don't want to work. Absolutely right.
Right. So
absolutely.
Anne Marie, whatever, put it down to pride.
It's one of those things where, I grew up in the era of you don't talk religion or politics, right?
Yeah.
And so and also, of course, we get into age and gender and all sorts of things in this. And I'm sure you guys will speak to that. I don't mean to hog the time.
No, please.
Can I talk about age and gender now? I'd love to. I like to talk about things when they're brought up. Age, gender, and diversity now can work in people's favor. They used to not, but they now can work into people's favor on that. Diversity, by the way, is very, very important right now. I can't tell you how many diversity initiatives I'm in the middle of right now, where we're being very, very sensitive to that. So I don't think that's an issue. The age thing is not an issue if you don't sound dated. That's the thing that's important. So I taught a class at Columbia University for 5 years on it, and I told the people that it doesn't matter what your age is, it matters what's in your head. And I can tell you, somebody who has been recruiting for 20 years, I'm not an ageist. If I see somebody, listen, first of all, I'm 65, so I don't want to be an ageist. But if I see somebody who has the talent and who is at the front of the curve in knowledge where they should be and not dated, they're going to get the nudge over a 30-year-old who stopped learning 10 years ago or 7 years ago and is not current. So the ageism is not necessarily a problem as long as what you have and what you've learned is vital and is relevant, and you've put it on your brand. You've put it out there so people know that it's out there. When we do searches, we're looking for those key things. I mean, everything right now is data privacy, data privacy, data privacy. We're looking for those things, those very key words that are in there, and it doesn't matter if it comes from a 60-year-old or a 30-year-old. Larry, does that make sense?
Look, it makes perfect sense, and you can't tell because I don't have much hair, but most of it's gray. The reality is, your experience, to Michael's point, your experience is part of your brand. Okay.
Yes.
Your ability to, Anne Marie, and I'm not suggesting that you are in my camp and Michael's camp in terms of age, but the point is, for anyone who's highly experienced, we communicate well, right? We collaborate well, we get things done, and we're not necessarily going to get caught up in office politics, because maybe 30 years ago we did get caught up in office politics. So there's a tremendous value, and Michael mentioned it. The hiring community, the buying community, right? The hiring community is ever more appreciative of high quality people, and under high quality experience is often numero uno. So
I want to add something that may get me in trouble, but I've witnessed this so much, and it's the gender thing. Men, particularly white men, will tout their experiences much louder than diversity people and women do. They just do that. So I have to dig in and find out much more what they're about, and then share that information with the hiring authority so they recognize it. Maybe because the white men ran this for so long, they're just so used to touting themselves and bragging about their experience. There's a little bit that has to be done that you have to do on your own, in your own branding, to get that out there. The art of it is to sound braggy. Sorry. The art of it is to sound vital and validate your background without being braggy, because you want to fit into the organization on that. So there's a balancing act on that. No? Okay, so do we maybe want to move over into LinkedIn now a little bit, or can we touch into that? Or
Sure.
Because LinkedIn is basically everything right now, for better or worse. LinkedIn is the resume is barely being used, as we said before. There is a value to it, but everybody's using LinkedIn for the first round of identifying people. So I will tell you how I work, and I can guarantee you most hiring authorities work this way. When we have a key hire, we go on LinkedIn and we build what we call a project, where we want to identify as many people that we feel have those skill sets that we can now go after and try to recruit. We're not trying to recruit one. It generally doesn't work sort of on a one-on-one basis. So I'm looking for keywords. I'm looking for, obviously, the first talent first. If I'm looking for somebody in data privacy, I want to see what their involvement was in data privacy. I want to see what certifications that they have. That's the first level that I'm looking at. I want to see who they worked for. I'm maybe want to see who they went to school. Sometimes that's relevant on that. I want to see where they are geographically. All these things that we're looking for, that goes into this large pool, and that may be 50 people. From 50, I'm narrowing it down to the best 25 that I'm going to go after. Then I have to, write a very key in-mail to somebody about what the opportunity is about and sell them on the opportunity. And then that becomes maybe 10. Out of the 10, I interview the 10 and then submit the best at number 5 again, submit the 5 to the hiring authority who's going to do that. Because again, I know they don't have much more bandwidth than to interview more than 5. So that's how we look at it. So with that said, you have to get your LinkedIn to really resonate and really sing and say a lot about you. So this is one of the first things I tell people about LinkedIn. Well, actually, the most important thing about LinkedIn is obviously to get it to look like something that somebody would want to hang out with and have in their dinner table, because that's basically what you're hiring. You're hiring somebody that's going to be around your dinner table for hopefully 5 years on that. So you want to make sure that it's looking like a background of somebody who you want to bring into your house. You do that by getting your personality in there. So people say, and it was brought up by the question to a certain degree, do you get personal on it? Yeah, you sort of do have to get personal on it. The way to look at this is Facebook is 80% or 90% social and 10% business. It's a total flip with LinkedIn. LinkedIn is 80-90% business, but 10% personal, and the personal is in there. The other thing that's really, really, really important in LinkedIn is, and this is what you need to know, is when somebody sees you because you're on a speaking engagement somewhere, or somebody sees that you shared some information, the very next thing they do is they're going to look at your profile, and you want to build that network up. It's the very next thing. If your profile is weak, they're going to make that instant decision that that person is weak. The goal of LinkedIn, by the way, is to build your network. You want to have first level connects with as many people as possible. And if that's the goal, to have first level connects, you want to have that profile look like something that somebody wants to connect with. The other thing that's really important is everybody, and I don't know, I think we have 50 people out there. One of the first things I would do is I would look to see how many contacts you have. And there's a little thing that people generally know, but they should definitely know. If you have 500 or more contacts, it looks the same. If you have 501, if Larry has 501 and I have 15,000 contacts, first level contacts, it looks the same to the network out there. Conversely, if you have 499, it looks as bad as having 12 contacts out there. It sort of shows that you're not networking properly. And I would take a look at those things to sort of build that up and get yourself past that, because it is the exercise of building up these networks that don't only help you with direct communications, but also help you with being recognized. Because when you share an article, or when you write an article, or when you have a comment on something, it's not only the first level connects that see it, it's the second level connects that share it with.
Michael, I have a question for you. This is Jackie. You hear people talk, you hear people talk all the time about showing yourself to be a thought leader on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
How would you define that? What does that mean, being a thought leader on LinkedIn?
The thought leader, you want to be a thought leader in your world, because that's how you're branding yourself. So if you want to brand yourself as a privacy expert, by the way, I have zero problem with somebody saying, "Hi, it's Larry Samilow, data privacy guru." I have zero problem when I see that. A little branding there helps, just in your title. And sometimes if you have too many certifications afterwards, or you're a lawyer and you have 10 or 5 to 10 certifications afterwards, that's a little bit much on it. But to put the brand on there is kind of important. Once you do that, then you have to, the easiest thing to do, I totally agree with Larry, is to write content. Everybody wants to see the content, and the content goes wide. It's a pain in the butt to write content, but it's really important to write content if you can do it. The easiest thing to do, though, is if you see relevant articles in your space, to share them with commentary. Never share them without commentary, but share them with commentary. Then people start looking for that stuff over and over and over again. That's generally what I did a lot more, not because I didn't have a lot to talk about. I was just too lazy to write the articles, but then I did write articles. And yes, when you do write articles, they get more viewing, and then they get shared, and you do get your brand out there more. So the writing of articles is very important. The sharing of articles with commentary is important. The speaking engagements is very, very important. Not because right now I'm speaking in front of 50 people, but I'm speaking in front of 50 people who hopefully are sharing this. Jackie and ARMA has shared this, and that's gone wide. So it's a network that is being shared with, that's seeing this free advertisement of who we are. That's a value. And yes, there's a great value speaking to the 50 of you on that. And then, of course, being involved in more associations and volunteering and raising your hand. I'll share a story. I've been involved in ARMA for a long time. Years and years and years and years ago, I got a position on the board. It had to be 25 years ago, by simply shaking the hand of the then elected president of the chapter and saying, "Hey, I'm new to the industry. I like to help. Anything I could do to help, here's my business card." He said, "I'd like you to come to one of our meetings that we have." I came to a meeting a week later, and he introduced me as the new vice president of the vice president of membership. Somebody just gave me a title right away. All I did was raise my hand. So it's very easy to get involved, because if you raise your hand to Jackie, trust me, Jackie's going to use you and use you and use you and use you and use you. So it's very easy to do. Jackie, hopefully that answered that question for you.
It did. Thank you.
If you raise your hand to Jackie, you will be short about $500 by the end of the night. Right, Jack?
Well, yeah, if you're a sponsor, yes. But if you raise your hand for other purposes, I just put you right to work. Right, Anne-Marie?
Oh, yeah.
I'll go back to that. I want to cover a little bit more on the networking. So here's one of the things that I tell people to do all the time. And nobody's asked a question yet, so I'm going to answer a question that should have been asked, is how do I get my profile to look better? The best way to get your profile to look better is to spend time on LinkedIn while you're watching Netflix, or while you're watching a ball game, or while you're listening to your Spotify playlist. Go on LinkedIn and find the better version of you. In fact, find 5 better versions of you, right? What do I mean by that? So somebody that's sort of in your space, works for the kind of companies that you work for, but when you look at that profile and go, my God, that's where I want to take my career to. So you get to do 2 things. You get to take a look at it and go, oh, I want to be that in 2 or 3 years or 5 years. And you get to see the path that they took there. But you also get to see what their profiles look like and start to mirror their profiles, start to clone the profiles. And I tell that to candidates all the time. They call me up and they go, can you work on my resume? The very first thing I say is, I'm not touching your resume. Because one, it's not my job. And two, it's sort of a dead thing. But work on your profile. And I tell them, go find the better version of yourself on that, mirror that, make your profile look like their profile to a certain degree. Don't lie in it, but don't be afraid to tout stuff that you didn't think that you had in your head, you know. But that's one of the easiest ways to make your profile look better. Any other questions? Or
What's your thought on picture versus no picture?
picture on LinkedIn?
On LinkedIn.
Oh, gotta have a picture. You got it. I immediately skeptical of no picture. I'm immediate. Now, the real question, and this is important, is what does your picture look like? There are bad pictures out there. And by bad, I don't mean ugly. I mean, there are pictures of people that try to look so serious. I'm like, I don't want to be anywhere near you. I don't want to have you in our company. You know, you do have to get that personality out there. Now, the balancing on the other side is I think it's kind of weird to have the beach picture on LinkedIn, where the beach is behind you and you're with your, you know, your friends in a bathing suit or something like that. And yes, I've seen that. So there's a balancing act. I think it should be informal. I don't think you have to have a tie on. I think it should look relatively friendly. It should be look at the profile that are out there, and you make the decision. Say, do I want to even know this person now that's out there like that? Well, that's how your profile should look. It should look like something that somebody wants to be with. So I'm very, very big on having the picture on there. You know, certainly.
Great. Thank you. I feel exactly the same way you do. No picture, I'm not interested.
No picture, not interested. Okay, so I'm going to dance on another area that's probably a little bit dangerous right now, but that's about the ageism thing. And ageism does exist for the people, like I said before, who don't have relevancy in their career and haven't articulated it either in LinkedIn or verbally on this thing. So you have to sort of take away the clues that give people an idea on your age. Listen, I know everybody's picture on LinkedIn is 10 years old. It just seems to be that way on that. But try not to do a couple of things. So a couple of tips is you don't have to go 10 jobs back. You don't have to go back to the 80s and all the jobs that you have. You don't have to. The average person looking at a profile or looking at a resume spends 30 seconds on it. It's about it. They don't spend much more time. They'll spend a little bit more on it if they're fascinated by you and they want to dig a little bit deeper, but they're spending 30 seconds on it. So you got to get that message out in 30 seconds, what you are. So, you know, the brand, I'm the privacy expert, next to your title is something that's good. And then the 3 last jobs that you had, I don't think you have to go much farther back than that. You certainly don't have to go back 10 jobs. And you might want to avoid the year that you graduated college. If it was in the 70s, you may want to avoid that because that's spelling it out to people. So I know it's a little bit dangerous area to dance on, but why give them reason? Why give them reason to say no before they talk to you? You just want to get to that position where they talk to you. I think I've covered a lot there. Larry, you got any comments on that? Or?
Well, look, I agree. The dinner table, Michael's illustration about dinner table company, let's call it, is so important because what I want to tell you about is professional organizations. Companies want to hire future employees that will represent themselves, right? Not only the employee themselves, but they want a good advertisement for the company itself. Mm-hmm. And so if you're a good dinner table guest, Michael, to pick up on your illustration, in terms of professional organizations, and Jackie can back us up on this, you don't want to just join, although you want to join several, but you want to be an active member. You want to be an active participant. You want, let's call it committee responsibilities. Look, I looked on and I'm not full disclosure, I'm not a full-time member of ARMA. I'm a friend of Jackie's, and I'm happy to support in any way. But just going online to the ARMA website, I see you could help attract new members. We're all professional organizations are always willing to have people help get new members, new programs. I imagine, Jackie, if someone came to you and said, "Hey, I think our constituents would really like this," or "I think the group would really like that," you could probably consider new programs.
I have 9 more months of programming this year, so feel free, step up.
So that's it. So that's a
Raise
great
your hand.
point. So I'm a member of what's called Association of Corporate Growth. Some people may be familiar. They're always pushing us to have, Jackie, 3 to 4 months of lead time for any program, but we're always constantly pushing new. Working with local charities, working with the media. Michael, this may be up your alley. Many of the associations I'm a part of have a in transition or career portal, right? Because look, it might be easy for some people on this call to speak about themselves or brag about themselves, but for most everyone, it's very difficult. So you need a little coaching. And obviously new sponsors and a newsletter, Jackie. I mean, if someone wanted to add content to the newsletter, I'm sure that you would welcome it. So I want to stress that when you join a professional organization, try to be active. You can be passive to start if you're shy, but you try to be active. In terms of learning new skills, learning new industry knowledge, it's so important to be talking to like-minded people. And when you join a professional organization, you hear so many great things. I want to tell you a couple of stories. It didn't happen to me, but I was so impressed that it happened to my friends. A friend of mine was looking for a new full-time job. She met in a video conference the hiring manager of a company moving into New Jersey from out of state. She applied and got the job. Now, it wasn't maybe as easy as that, but where would she have heard about this company moving into the area, right? You hear it in professional organizations. Another friend was looking for newsletter content. Someone in Jackie's position at another organization was looking for newsletter content. And one of my friends is a writer and an editor. She volunteered. She has been so helpful to that company. Every month she helps them blog. Trying to think of other things. Just this whole notion of being in video conferences now. I'll be honest with you, and Michael and I talked about it. I'm a little bit more of a in-person guy, coffee, a drink, maybe a round of golf. So this is new for me, but you learn new skills. And I got to think people, no matter what happens in November, no matter what happens with any type of vaccine or therapy, this video conferencing is here to stay in business. So it's a new skill to brush up on. And I really wanted to kind of hit on that, and I wanted to get Jackie's perspective. To what extent can people who haven't yet volunteer, can they volunteer? And what type of things come to mind for you?
Anyone can volunteer. I mean, there's a role for everybody. You don't necessarily have to sit on the board and take on full responsibilities for functional area. For example, in programming, you could say, I want to help in December, help you run the program. Or, when we do get back to in-person events, I've got a location you can use. Let's have it there.
Excellent point.
I'll man the membership table at the next event. So there are volunteer opportunities in any of our chapters, and I see people on here from across the Northeast region, including our new consolidated New England chapter, and we're all the same. There's something for everybody. So please, if you want to give an hour of your time, or if you want to jump full in, the networks you build here are irreplaceable.
Totally.
This is one of 3 associations I belong to. Volunteer at all of them.
Yep.
Yeah, it's time. Yeah, I give up a lot of my time, but it's worth it. I actually got my current position because of my LinkedIn profile.
That's right. That's right.
And they found me and recruited me.
So,
I wasn't even looking.
Jackie, I can't say that strongly enough. I should put the pencil down and not point it at people. I can't say this strongly enough. You need to be found. It's
Great.
just not going to work submitting resumes. You're not going to win that game. It's impossible to win it. And it has very little to do with how talented you are. It has to do with metrics more than anything else. but you want to get found and you want to get recognized. And the more that you're out there, the more you're going to get recognized. I mean, I shared an article once. Now I have a lot of connections. I have a high number of first level connections, but I had an article that I shared with commentary on it, and it was a great article, and I guess it was great commentary, and it ended up with 25,000 views. 25,000 views. I can't even think of where I could place an ad that gets 25,000 views on it, and this was free, and it happened over a couple of days on this thing. And basically all I did, and by the way, here's a tip. So I don't want to forget to pass tips on. One of the best tips I can give you, because I was telling you the easiest thing to do is to share great relevant articles with commentary on it. The easiest way to do that is to set, you go into Google and go into Yahoo and go in all the news sites and set alerts on the articles that you want so you get them first. If you're the first to post something, you get a lot of attention. If you're the first to share it, you get some attention. If you're the 20th to share it, you get no attention at all. So, a couple of my takeaway tips is obviously build your network and get it past 500 and build it with people who are, in the industry that you're in or doing stuff that you want to do, or you're wearing a Maryland shirt. I tell young people, share with everybody at your university. Then when you're done with the university, share with everybody that's in the sports that you're into. When you're done with that, share with everybody that's in the ACC. Just find people who have relevancy to build that network up. The other important thing is to set the alerts and get those articles in there. And it's the easiest thing to do. I share articles all the time on it, and it doesn't take a lot.
We have a couple of comments from the audience. So from Chris Bednar, who is our Northeast Region Director. Yes, volunteer will find something. There's small pieces all across ARMA. And from Angel Ramos from ARMA, New Jersey, I found 2 jobs by volunteering at my local ARMA chapter.
Yeah, there you go.
Fantastic. That's great. Yeah. If I can also mention, picking up a little bit on what Michael said, and also Jackie. So to be a thought leader, you have to be well thought about. And I will tell you, one of the best things you can do in LinkedIn is when one of your first level or second level contacts has success. Maybe they got a promotion. Maybe they got a new job. Oh, maybe their kid got their first job. I believe there's a phrase, be happy for other people's happiness, right?
Yes.
Right. So be that person who is complimentary and supportive of other people. That's a good dinner guest, right? That's a good prospective employee. That's a good committee member. So it's not hard. And Michael and I were talking one night, maybe you're watching a ball game, maybe you're listening to music and you're looking at your LinkedIn feed and someone got a promotion. Great. Way to go. Congrats. All the best for you. It's just a nice thing to do.
By the way, Larry, that's absolutely brilliant. But the very next thing they do after you compliment them with, it doesn't have to be your friends. It could be people who you want to connect with. It could be second level.
It could be.
The very first thing they're going to do after you compliment them and they saw who did it is look at your profile. Look at it. And if they like what they see, they're going to connect. And if they didn't like what they see, they're not going to connect. It's very, very simple on that stuff.
Right.
Totally agree with that. Definitely compliment people. I do that all the time. And I do it because it is a good thing to do. You want to sort of be known as the good person. Here's the thing that's really interesting. So I consider ourselves a small, giant business. We're large because we're global, and we're large because we place all over the country. We place large numbers, but we're still out of a little office in Montclair, New Jersey. We're just a small group of people on this thing. We have a national recognition. I would even say global because we do a lot in London on this because of LinkedIn. I got one of my best positions that I placed was the president of a pretty well-known company, and I got the call from the board member in London. And he goes, I just like what you write about, and you seem to at least have a good understanding. Can you help me with this presidential search? No LinkedIn, no me sharing comments, no somebody reaching into me and asking me to place the president with that large fee on it. Not only, by the way, the large fee, all the people that he wanted me to hire afterwards on that. So you can really, it's not branding yourself locally, it's branding yourself nationally. So.
Right. And then same is true, Michael, isn't it, of LinkedIn messaging? Like, I get LinkedIn messages all the time from people trying to sell me stuff that's absolutely unrelated to what I'm doing, or offering, they have open positions. Am I interested? Do I know anybody? How do you handle those? Do you respond to all of them, to some of them?
Yes. I respond to everybody. Okay, so well, there's sort of two. I respond to anybody who messages me because it's the polite thing to do, right? Even if I don't have anything for them, even if they're trying to sell me something that I don't like, I still say, listen, I respect what you do. It's not for me. Good luck, right? And you know what they write back? They write back thank you to me,
Yep.
you know? So you always respond to it. If you like what they're offering and you think that they have a value in your network, then what you do is say, hey, I noticed that we're not connected. Let's connect on LinkedIn and see where this relationship goes and see if we can be mutually beneficial to one another for the next 5 years or so on it.
Right.
So I would always respond to anybody who replies. The thing that you should know too is why first level connects are so important. First level connects are so important because you can direct email somebody endlessly. If you're not a first level connection, you can't. You're limited to how many emails you could send out unless you want to pay for more. So the first level connections are really, really quite important. On the other side, on the receiving side, when somebody sends me an email and they're a first level connect, I just take them that much more seriously because in my head, I say, I must like you because I've made the effort to connect with you at some time. So that's why it's real important to build your first level connects up. Again, another homework assignment / tip, obviously get past that 500 number. So that's important to be at. But take a look at how many contacts you have and give yourself a goal. Say, okay, so it's October 1st now. By November 1st, I have 750. I want to get to 1,000 and start connecting with relevant people. Don't connect with people who are not relevant and bring value to your brand life, but do that and do that on a regular basis. And you also tend to learn a lot more. You raise your own personal bar by doing that because then you get to see what people did to advance their careers. It's a really good tool to do. So.
Yep. Yeah, and the other thing is endorsements. So I know you mentioned this one other time to us.
So the class I taught at Columbia University, I asked the question, how many people use endorsements? Nobody raised their hand. How many people hate the endorsements and don't want to do it? Everybody raised their hand. And I said, well, here's the pencil again. I got to throw that pencil away. You're looking at it all wrong. What the endorsement is not that you truly believe in what they do because you don't know them well enough necessarily to endorse them. What the endorsement is a tap on the shoulder. If I endorse somebody, they don't even care that I endorse them. They want to know who endorsed them. The next thing they do is look at your profile again. So if you want to get somebody's attention, endorse them. That's why you endorse. Is it relevant? No. Does it advance anybody's career when they have an endorsement? Not necessarily. What it does do is it makes, and LinkedIn will talk about this because I deal a lot on LinkedIn panels, and LinkedIn, they'll say that the endorsement is really to get somebody's attention. So that's why you endorse.
Makes sense. We have about 9 minutes left. I don't have any outstanding questions from the audience at the moment, but if we could talk a little bit more about internal branding, because many people are still employed currently, during the pandemic and trying to figure out how to make themselves a key employee, how to make themselves valuable to the organization to protect their position. And I think the internal branding is key to that. So if you guys could talk a little bit more about that, that'd be great.
So, Eli, do you want to cover it first, or do you want me to talk about it and then you pick up on it? I don't.
Yeah, why don't you start? And I've got some thoughts, but please do.
So you can do a little bit of internal branding with LinkedIn. The risk with the internal branding, if you do too much of it with LinkedIn, is sometimes the internal people are like, well, you're branding yourself to leave our company. So you got to be a little cautious of that, right? But the real way to do internal branding is to raise your hand. That's the real way to do it. So volunteer to help, just like it's like an association. Volunteer to mentor somebody and volunteer to seek mentorship. It goes, if anybody ever wants me to mentor them, I mentor them all the time. I love to do it. It makes me really, really, really good as a human being. And it also reinforces my belief system. So the easiest way to do that is to help people. Raise your hand, raise your hand, raise your hand. Can I help you on this? Can I help you learn that? Can you give me insights on this? I really, like your knowledge on this. I mean, just be involved. Don't be the Don't be the wallflower. Don't be the person that's hiding behind the desk and doing absolutely nothing. You will not get noticed that way. And you don't have to be BSy about it, and you don't have to be phony about it. You have to be sincere about it. Mentorship is one of the most valuable tools to get yourself noticed on there. To help out where you weren't asked to help out is another valuable tool. So,
Great.
Yeah, and I would add a little bit to that too, Michael. I would say that it is very much like how you would approach an external association, right? So it's your internal, your current employer. One of the best things you can do is help the company get noticed itself, right? For its charity work, perhaps, for through a newsletter, the LinkedIn page. And we didn't talk about this, Michael, but I think every growing company has its own company LinkedIn page, and if you can help the company get better content to be noticed, again, you're personally volunteering to help your company be better. And sure, there's a little self-promotion in there, but you're willing to do it to promote your company.
The
And
charity
I think,
thing is
right?
charity thing's brilliant, Larry. It is. Everybody's looking for stuff like that. Nobody really knows how to take it on. And if you come up with a charitable idea and you're willing to run with it,
Exactly.
you're gonna get noticed. You will get noticed for that.
Mm-hmm.
And today, with so many organizations starting to bring people back into the organization, if you've got a return to work committee, stick your hand up.
Mm-hmm.
Stick your hand up. You'll get noticed across the board. Don't
That's
miss
right.
that opportunity.
Yeah. I think you posted something about that, Jackie, if I'm not right, on LinkedIn.
Actually, it was the conversation in my session 2 weeks ago.
And I saw it on LinkedIn.
At corporate compliance, absolutely, yeah.
Yep.
It's a great opportunity, and when it came up at my organization, the GC came to me and she said, I need to bring this to who? And I said to her, well, let's look at people who are not getting the attention they deserve and offer them the opportunity to volunteer. And that's exactly what we did. So it raises your profile within the organization.
Yep. Yep.
Let's see, we got a hand up. Angel, you have a question for the speakers?
Yeah. One thing that I noticed that not a lot of people do is to mention other organizations and people's names. Could you talk about how you would name somebody and then kind of like create a hyperlink?
Okay, yeah, I understand what you're saying. So when you're making a post and you want to refer to somebody else, you want to tag them, right?
Right. Michael? Is it the @ sign or number sign that LinkedIn
It can
creates?
be either, but it's generally on LinkedIn. It's @.
Okay.
When you do @, then it hyperlinks them. By the way, Angel, a great thing to bring up. If you hyperlink people, not only is it blasting out that you're connected to them, it usually goes to their people as well. That's the thing that's very, very important to them. So
you're bragging about that person, and it's a great way to do it, Angel. Excellent point.
Right, and the pound sign, if I'm correct, is more for hashtags for searchability. So
okay,
if you want, because there are certain hashtags I just follow all the time. So if anybody uses them, it comes up in my feed, and I know that it's out there. So that's another good way to do it. We got from Chris Bednar. Likewise, any organizational diversity and community initiatives, they're great to have on your LinkedIn profile.
It's great to have diversity right now. I've always been pro diversity. Always, it's sort of just been my thing, my belief structure. Now it's a business advantage right now. I have to be honest. So without mentioning the company, it's a person who I placed there who was very high up at a global financial company, and I saw that she was talking about diversity recently, really at the beginning of the BLM movement on there, and how they were trying to really improve their diversity hiring on the IT side. I knew her, I wrote her, and I said, I want to get involved in it. She got me bypassed on the onboarding on this global financial services company because of the diversity thing. She got me totally bypassed. I didn't have to go through the other approval structures, and I got my MSA, my master service agreement, with this because of the diversity. I didn't reach into her for any fake reason about it. It was very sincere, but when she knew that that was important to us, she got us in there, and it's
Yeah.
So,
One of our participants, because I'm not sure if they want to discuss it or not, has in their email signature gender pronouns. And it immediately piqued my interest, and I asked him about it, and he said it was an organizational thing, and it's voluntary, but he felt that he wanted to be involved in it. But it immediately got my attention that the gender profiles were there.
okay, if I was sharing a screen right now, I would share somebody that I reached out to last night for this very company that I mentioned, that I didn't mention, but this very opportunity that I mentioned, because it's a diversity thing. And the hiring authority, my friend, is LGBT. And she put the gender thing on her. She works for another major financial corporation. She put that on there. I noticed that. I reached out to her. And not only did I reach out to her, she might have said no in the beginning. First of all, I probably wouldn't have reached out to her. I might have, but that's what jumped out at me. But then I told her that this was part of a diversity initiative at this financial services company. She's been at her company for now 9 years, probably would have no interest in leaving. When she hears this new company is making this push to that and that she would be part of it, she got interested in it. So there's a, okay. Is there a risk of putting the gender stuff up there that somebody may look away? Yes. But going back to what Larry said a long time ago, if they don't want me because I put the gender thing on it, that's not the kind of company I want to work for.
Exactly. Gentlemen, we have 1 minute left. Any closing thoughts from each of you?
I would just say real quick that I would challenge everyone because we're on an ARMA NJ call, and for anyone at ARMA in any city or state, volunteer. If you haven't already volunteered for an ARMA committee, please do so. And the other thing I would ask you to do is challenge yourself before the end of the year. Try to find 2 other organizations to help build your personal and professional brand, but join 2 that you already aren't a member of, and see if you can create more connections that way. Those would be my 2 parting thoughts.
Yeah.
Thank you,
My
Larry.
parting thoughts, my challenges to you is one that I said before. Take a look at how many contacts you have. If you're under 500, get it over 500 as quickly as possible. And then whatever number you have, try to add 200, 250 a month on that. It'll be really valuable. There's no reason that you shouldn't reach out to anybody who is in ARMA around the country right now and connect with them.
That's a great point.
Jackie, how many ARMA members are there around the country? Just out of
I
curiosity.
think, Chris, 5,000, 8,000.
Wow.
So that
like
means
that.
there's a target right there for you, literally everybody. And then you throw the other.
So here we go. 6,000 to 7,000. Thank you.
Wow.
Chris.
Right. So is everybody going to connect with you? No, but I would start doing that. And without question, everybody should be connecting to the 3 of us here. If you're not connected, if you don't see that we're first level connected, send a connection out. I'm going to accept. Larry's going to accept. Jackie's going to accept. So right there, you got 3. So.
Exactly. Well, gentlemen, thank you. I mean, really great conversation. We appreciate it. I want to thank you both for the time you put into this and for sharing your wisdom. I want to say thank you to Imazanti Technologies for being our host today. As always, the support of the organization is greatly appreciated. If anyone still wants to continue the conversation, you can find Michael and Larry on LinkedIn.
Yes, you can.
Start building those first connects today. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you in October.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
So now we just sign off.